Get my computer up.
I see. All right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Inside Texas with Mitch and Jeff. And
2 weeks off. You ought to be all rested up and ready to go.
Not even close. I need another vacation right now,
from
brother.
the vacation.
Oh man, not even a vacation from the vacation. As soon as we got back, it was like Hammer City. If I took the camera out and showed you what my shop looks like, it looks like a tornado went through it, and it's just everything's stacked all over the place. It's crazy. But we want to thank everybody. I'm not complaining about the business, believe me, not at all. We're very, very busy and very happy about that. And a couple of things, everything's going good right now. All right. So tonight is all about weather. We have everybody on that we know about weather. Amanda Campos, our Matagorda emergency manager, is going to be joining us. We got Andy Kirkland, my head weather guy for Gulf Coast One Radio, and also former emergency manager up in Wharton County. And then we have Dan Rielly going to be joining us from the National Weather Service in Galveston. He covers the severe weather and things like that down there. And we get him on once a year. And he just told me he'd love to be on twice a year. So we'll have him on twice. Have him on twice a year because every year around this time, we get everybody on. Now, I want to make this statement so people know that the people we're bringing on are the people you need to listen to during weather, and including Mitch, who is our public information officer. I am so tired of seeing these Facebook storm chasing. Oh, there's going to be a hurricane here tomorrow at noon. The weather forecast on Facebook, that is not the place to get your weather. All right. I'm serious. It's really not. Now, I put a link up to our website, okay, on GCOR1. Last year when Amanda told me to, we had those links on for emergency help, emergency preparedness, all that stuff. Every single one of those links is on the website that you can go right to, click to. If you need help, it's there. You want to know what the weather radar is? It's there. You want to know what the tide conditions are? It's there. You want to know if a storm's coming, the Hurricane Center, that information is there. And these aren't websites that are put up by some guy in a garage underground saying, oh man, I think you're going to get rain. No. And the other thing is with Gulf Coast One Radio, we don't put anything out unless we confirm it with the National Weather Service. And I talked to Andy before I put anything up. We talked to Andy and all that. We had a little issue with some folks in Blessing who didn't believe us that there was not a tornado that came through there. And the National Weather Service said, nope, there was no tornado that came through there. And people are saying, well, our houses next door exploded, this and that. And I tried to explain to them, which I did. And Andy called me and told me what a microburst is. And a microburst can be 2.5 miles wide and winds of 100 miles an hour straight down or more. Right. And I know that from years past and doing this on the radio and everything like that. So we want to make sure that everybody goes to the right place to make sure that you're getting the weather information you need when it comes to the hurricanes or the severe weather, which we've had sometimes early in the morning. I didn't catch it right away, but Andy's right on it, 4:30 in the morning. Midnight, I try to catch it, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. If I know something's coming, we'll make sure that we get on the air and do it. Also, the Matagorda emergency management page. If there's an emergency there, they post up their stuff up on there as well. So there are places for you to go. It's just not Bob from Oklahoma who has an outside weather station to tell you, oh yeah, it's going to get bad. That's not it.
And Jeff, I appreciate you saying that because it's not just Mitch Thames saying anything. Once we get a release, once we get the information, it's reviewed by Amanda. Nothing goes out until Amanda's approved it.
Right.
And nine times out of 10, she wants to talk to somebody to get it. So you're right. It's confirmed.
Right.
It's solid. We know it's the truth, and we're all on the same page before anything goes out. So
yes, exactly. and Travis Herzog as well from ABC 13 has been, we text back and forth, making sure that we're on the same page. ABC and Andy, and we'll talk about this. There is another weather radar station that was put up near Edna.
So, I saw it.
Yeah,
it's on the water tower.
Yeah, and that has helped out tremendously for our area as well. So, without further ado, let's get everybody up here. I'm going to bring Amanda Campos from the Matagorda County Emergency Management Corporation, and then we got Dan Rielly is joining us right now. He is from the National Weather Service, and of course, last but not least, the man, the myth, the legend, Andy, the Ram Man Kirkland. We got him up there as well. So. Thank you guys all for being on here tonight. Amanda, you're muted again. You want to take the mute off? See? There you go. Okay, I saw it. I could see that. It's good. But thank each and every one of you for being here tonight. And this is probably one of the most important conversations we will have. I can tell you that recently down in Mexico, I was. I don't know. I'm always weather watching or whatever. But we went to Cozumel, and the air temperature down there is about 7 degrees warmer than it normally is, and the water temperature is terribly, terribly cooking down there. 90 degrees, 91 degrees. We caught in some of the bays. It's just
We lost you, Jeff. Jeff,
your audio's gone.
You're muted.
He muted himself.
Oh, wow. That's like a blessing, isn't it?
Hey, stop it, Andy. All right, I'm sorry. I don't know what I touched.
That's what you get for calling me out.
That's right.
I didn't do it on the air, Amanda.
Oh,
I didn't do it. Okay, fine. I won't tell you what Amanda was doing. All right, I'm not going to say it. I'll keep quiet. I won't say it. I could, but I'm not going to say it. All right, so the water temperatures, like I was saying, down in the Mexico area, 91 degrees, 90 degrees. It was just unbelievable. They have not had rain down in those areas, which normally gets rain, they said, in months. So it's very dry. It was very dry down there, warm temperatures, warm water. And we're talking hurricane season. And the beginning of hurricane season was on June 1st of this year. And we're talking, everybody's saying, oh, it's going to be active. And we got everybody on that will know that happens. And I'm going to first start with Dan Rielly. Dan, thank you, first of all, again, for coming on. It was on last year with us. And you are the man that gets this information. I know you just were up in the, I guess, Dallas, Fort Worth area with that conference up there. I guess it was about hurricane season and things like that. Tell us a little bit about hurricane season 2024.
Jeff, you just mentioned the very warm water down there, and that's true across the Atlantic. Already in early June, the water temperatures are more like August, where these storms develop. So you factor that in with the fact that we're going into what's called a La Nina phase, and that's why the forecast is for so many storms. The forecast for this season, in terms of the number of named storms and hurricanes, really higher than it's ever been this time of year as far as a forecast.
There's some stuff coming out. I saw it on Facebook today where they're showing a GFS model like on the 17th or something like that of a possible storm down off the right around where Cozumel is and things like that. That's a little far out, I think, to look at storms like that. I went to the GFS models on tropical tidbits and stuff. I didn't see anything pop up like that. What should we be aware of when people are looking to get their weather information? What should they be looking for?
I would say be real cautious with the models out beyond 7 days, especially when there's only one model developing a storm. It's sort of a model storm, not reality. And I've seen the GFS, for example, do that many, many times, and it's never been right yet, when you're looking, say, beyond 7 days. Now, if the GFS and some of the other models are hinting at something, and we see something out there on satellite that could develop, then we would put more stock in it. But for now, if it's just one model showing a storm, beyond 7 days, and you'll see those on social media, I wouldn't put much stock into that at all.
Yeah. What is the best model for some of these guys like Andy and I and stuff to look at? Is it the European model or is it GFS model?
For track, it's better actually to take the average of those two or a handful of models than any individual model for the track. It turns out the average does better than any individual model.
Okay.
For a storm developing, I would look for commonality in the GFS and the European and maybe a few others. If one has it, particularly if the GFS has it, but it's the only model doing that, it's more likely than not, fiction.
Right.
But once we start getting within 7 days and we see multiple models showing some development, including the European and the GFS, then it maybe is something that we have to watch. Hurricane Center actually has a 7-day outlook, so they're actually analyzing all the models and assigning percentage chance that something will develop over certain areas. And so that's actually the best thing to look at on hurricanes.gov.
Right.
They're doing that full time, right? Every day. That's their job. So, yeah.
Yeah, they update it 4 times a day. They're digesting all the model data, and they're updating it and giving you a percent chance it will develop. So that's really handy for us on the Texas coast.
Yeah.
Because things can pop up over the Gulf very quickly. And so that's really intended to give us a little extra heads up.
Is it still 4 p.m., 10 p.m., 4 a.m., 10 a.m.?
Well, that's when the advisories are issued.
Right.
So that is still the same.
Okay.
The convective weather outlook is staggered to that. I think it's more like 1 p.m., 8 p.m., 1 a.m., 8 a.m. So,
okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, that's what I thought. Now, I want to, and I'm sorry, Mitch, if you got something to chime in, but I got 96 million things because of the weather. I'm the weather.
Well,
thing.
I've got one. So, Dan, I've been seeing we're in between these La Nina and the other.
El Nino, yeah.
One's going away and one's coming in. Are we more prone on the Texas coast to storms during this transition, one versus the other?
Yeah, I'll be honest, Mitch, I'm not sure about that. You are right. We're going from El Nino to La Nina. And, there are flow patterns associated with all these different phases. I have heard that mentioned in the media as well, that maybe we get more storms in this transition period. So
right.
I haven't seen the studies on that myself. So,
okay. So just take it with just take it as entertainment value and not a warning system.
I mean, I will say this, the old adage is Texas weather is drought interrupted by flood. And, we do see that again and again. We go through very dry periods and then all of a sudden it's wet and flooding, and so, there is some truth to that. We do have these multi-year cycles of wet and dry. And we're definitely we've been in a kind of a wetter period for the most part recently.
How the Sahara dust, we see a lot of that. We see more and more of that, people talking about it, especially on different newscasts and weather forecasters. Is it? I know last year it was pretty bad. I think it kept a lot of the storms out of the lower Atlantic basin and into the Gulf because we had a lot of that Sahara dust coming up here. Are we predicting that again this year?
That has a season as well. That tends to be more prevalent early in the hurricane season. So I would expect to see that again. Certainly in June, maybe early July, and then that tends to taper off a bit. And no surprise, that's about when the season gets most active as we get toward August and September.
Right. Okay. All right. Let's talk a little bit. As far as hurricanes out, you had mentioned how far out they go. I think you said 7 days, correct? They do a 7-day out.
Yes, that it used to be 5. They're now looking out 7 days, seeing where things could develop, and they'll draw an area on a map and give it a percent chance. So
right.
I really recommend looking at that. They update it 4 times a day. Check it out once a day at least.
Yeah, and that's why I brought it up. I think you were off and on, but you got these guys that are bringing out 17 days in advance, 20 days in advance. The technology is not there yet to predict the weather 17 to 20 days out. You saw with this past couple of 2 weeks weather, Andy and I were talking about it, just stuff popped up out of nowhere, it's just like we weren't predicting it, and boom, it just happens. It's really hard to call, especially with the heat that we have, the moisture that we have, the changing of La Nino and El Nino, the air patterns, the wind patterns, the cooler air. We're at that time of the season where we're still going to get a little cool from up north, and we're going to get that warm blast from the south, which creates these storms. And just out of nowhere the other night, and Andy, Andy texted me and says, I don't know where this came from, but boom, it just happened. With these storms that we just recently had, and the question is, I had a lot of folks in Blessing this past storm. They got hit pretty bad over in the Blessing area, Markham Midfield area, really bad. And, I had Andy look into it. He looked at National Weather Service and stuff and said there were no tornadoes touching down in that area, that there was nothing put out that there were tornadoes touched down in the area, that possibly it was a microburst, which happens quite a bit. Happened in Houston there with the windows blowing out and things like that. Are we correct in saying that, and I want to make it clear for everybody that's watching and listening, that there was no tornado touchdowns in Matagorda County?
As far as we know, and we're always open to gathering more information. I would say thunderstorms, as you alluded to, they can pop up even with less notice. We might be predicting storms coming in overnight. They may form early in the evening, and so thunderstorms are notorious that way, especially in a pattern that we've been in. You almost have to monitor the radar and watch them come in. The models are very poor in predicting that sort of thing. Right. As far as the damage we had in Blessing and some other areas in that area, what we saw on radar was a storm with some rotation actually over southern Wharton County that kind of collapsed over Matagorda County. When that happens, you get a big push of wind, like you said, maybe 80, 90 mile per hour. So, that can do just as much damage as a tornado. So some people will say, oh, it couldn't have been just straight line winds, but the point is, it's a matter of whether it was a spinning wind or a big push of wind. Either way, very damaging. So, but if someone saw something, and in this age with so many people, with cameras and things like that at the ready, we're definitely open to looking at new information.
Right. Exactly.
Well, a lot of times you can tell from the damage itself, right? If there's a twisting pattern, because I know in some of these rainstorms, camera or not, you can't even see rotation.
No, it's a great point. I mean, I'll give you the example of this derecho that came through Brenham on through Houston and on east. There were a couple tornado tracks within that larger blowdown. And so what did that look like? It looked like trees falling in all different directions. Yeah. And very distinctive, narrow path of damage. In a case like this, we had a lot of trees blown down over an area. And truth be known, we did not get a chance to get out there. We would have liked to actually look at the damage. But our best estimate based on the photos we had seen and the nature of the damage is we think straight line winds.
Jeff, one of the things that folks need to do is that if they do have damage like that, they need to contact Amanda's office or contact the Matagorda County Sheriff's Department so they can relay that information back up to the National Weather Service. They're going to have a time. They can look at the radar. They can see what they think. And if they think that it might have been, they might send somebody out there for a damage assessment the next day or something.
Yeah,
but got to report it.
And we talked about it because we did get the reports, and we tentatively had hoped to send someone out there, but the more we looked at it, and wouldn't you know, more storms rolled in, like the next morning. So
right,
it was a bit disappointing, but you're right, Andy. The information gathering stage is so critical. So for the audience members out there, if you could take photos and share them with Amanda or with us at the Weather Service, that could be really helpful. Again, we're looking for damage laid in different directions, often crisscrossed, and sometimes you'll even have things like tin that are thrown in the opposite direction, as opposed to everything blown more down toward the southeast. So we can actually take geotag photos and put them right on a map. So there are things that can really help us out. And you know, we do regret not being able to get boots on the ground out there with this one.
Yeah. There was quite a bit of damage out there. I know, hail especially. Man, I don't remember I've been here since 2015. I don't remember a time since then until now that we've had this much hail. I drove down through Belleville, coming from up College Station, driving back down there on 36. And I came down that day that storm came through Belleville with all that hail. It looked like snow on the ground. And it was shocking because I didn't even know it happened. I know there were storms coming through. When I got into Belleville, the top of Belleville where you were, you know, you could see in front of you, it looked like smoke, you know, and I thought, man, something's on fire down there. And I drove down to the bottom, got down to the bottom more. And it was because of all this ice on the ground was creating that, you know, that dry ice look effect. And there was so much of it. I mean, there was kids almost enough to build snowmen. I mean, it was huge amount. And it wasn't very wide. It was less than a mile wide. And, you know, trees were down, trucks were turned over. It was just a mess. And that's the one that came down through Needville that time and down into Angleton that day.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. Are these storms because of the temperatures, because of the climate change and things like that, are they getting more juice? Are they getting more active?
You know, the only thing, and a little bit about that Belleville storm, it was a supercell, a rotating storm that collapsed over Belleville. So there were some similarities to the Blessing storm. And yes, they had the very large hail for a long time. Yeah. That smoke you were seeing, we call that a hail fog, believe it or not. Right. And so they had the high winds and the hail and the damage. And as did Blessing, as you mentioned, large hail, high winds, a lot of damage. So, and then there was a separate storm that formed that ended up going through Angleton that day. So
yeah.
As far as whether these are more common, I'm not sure about that. One thing I will say is, given how warm the Gulf is, you know, that's some of the energy that feeds in to the storm. So at least there is that aspect. As far as the flow patterns, I don't know that this is going to be more common with time. I think, you know, we just have very active seasons and then relatively quiet ones. But so I don't know about the long-term climate suggesting this.
Yeah.
But that water, that hot water you've referred to early on, gives more energy to these storms and, you know, makes them more intense in general.
Yeah. I have a friend of mine who flies airplanes, or jet, as a matter of fact. And I talked to him and he was coming over. I believe it was during the Belleville storm. And he said the tops of those storms, they were at 26,000 and they were way above. I mean, they're what 40,000 feet, 45,000 feet, something like that. Some of those tops.
Yeah. Higher. If you look at the Belleville storm, it was probably up over 50,000, and then it collapsed. You know, in a period of about 15 minutes, the storm just fell apart. And so that's almost like taking a bucket of water and ice and dumping it on the town. You know, and you get the air coming down and spreading out as well. So, you know, it was a classic downburst in a case like that. You know, high winds, hail, and just, you know, horrific kind of conditions there. And then, like I say, Blessing, that storm had some similarities, actually, with a lot of wind and hail, the storm kind of collapsing over that area.
Right. And Andy, I'm going to go ahead. Somebody was saying something. Go ahead.
Amanda, how important it is, and I know you're monitoring Dan's weather forecast, especially when y'all go into y'all's rotation. How important it is for you to have that firsthand knowledge of Dan's reports and predictions?
It's the most important thing that I have. If I'm not texting Dan for clarification of what I'm reading, I'm doing that all the time. I'm sure he gets tired of me, but that's what we use. You know, the soonest we know that it's coming our way, the sooner we can protect the public.
There you go. And that's the job number one. Andy, you did that for years. I know the number one job is the safety of the visitors and the public.
That's what we have to do, is take that information. They're the ones gathering it, and they know what, okay, this is what's going to happen. That was one of the things I wanted Dan to touch on, is that there's some changes this year in the products that the National Hurricane Center is putting out. He talked about the one to where the tropical weather outlook now goes out to 7 days instead of 5. But now they're going to be in that cone that we always see when they make that projection with the cone. There's going to be some differences in that. And Dan, can you touch on that and tell us, because that's going to make a whole lot of difference to those of us inland when we start to see that information coming out.
Sure, Andy. And, I want to emphasize what a great team it is. We view Amanda, Andy, Mitch as well. We visit with them. We know them. They know us. And, we all have a role to play. So I really appreciate those comments. Now, the cone is very misunderstood. Some people think, oh, I'm not in the cone, I should be fine. And so the cone actually represents is the center track will track within the cone about 2/3 of the time based on past error. That's all that is. And so what the new cone display will show is not only the cone, which gives an idea of the center track uncertainty, but also all the warnings, even inland. So if there's a hurricane wind warning for Wharton County or Matagorda County, it's going to show up on the map with the cone. So it'll give you a more complete picture of the hazards that you're dealing with. Of course, with tropical systems, we could be having wind, flash flooding, storm surge flooding near the coast. And, so this one kind of summary map will show more of the hazards than just the cone.
Dan, if you had one thing that you could tell the audience, and particularly Matagorda County and Wharton, what would it be from the National Weather Service standpoint? I know we're predicting a heavy season, but it doesn't take but one, right?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that, Mitch. I would say this, and this is born out of many years of doing this, and that is guard against your own biases. I know a lot of people, even with a storm like Harvey or the freeze, they were thinking, well, that hasn't happened before. That's not going to happen to me, or that will be a flood for Houston again. And so people, I think they have a tendency of what we call positivity bias. And, Wharton and Matagorda haven't had a direct hit in a long time. So you're going to have to fight that a little bit. And the other is to plug in to us. Listen to what we're saying. We're not going to hype anything. We're going to give you the best scientific forecast we can, so you can make that, that good decision. But again, even if something hasn't happened in your area with past storms, it doesn't mean it couldn't happen with the next one. So, just guard against that.
Yeah, and I wanted to say this too, everybody. What I do with the website, our website and stuff, is not for clicks, because if it was for clicks, I'd have a ton of sponsors on, and I don't. That's not what it's for. Each one of these people that you see on here, care about your safety. Everybody that's out there. It's not about, there's guys out there that want clicks. Oh, I got 7 million clicks because I put this up or I did this. It's not about clicks. It's about your safety. It's been the same way since I got here in 2015, and when we dealt with Hurricane Harvey and stayed on for 3 days. It's not about money. It's not about clicks. It's the job we chose to take care and protect people and the safety of the people, especially in Matagorda County, Brazoria County, Calhoun, around. I mean, because people are watching Matagorda County, they're watching Galveston County, they're watching everything, because that's everybody who gets hit first. How bad it's going to be, what's the winds like, this and that. So it's not about clicks. It's not about if Andy comes on, Dan comes on, Amanda and Mitch or myself come on, we're going to tell you exactly what is going on, where to look for, what, take cover, take shelter. And I try to get on as quick as possible. When Andy's texted me at 4:30 in the morning, like I said, and I want him to do that. We have that, that deal. And I get on very quick, because the first people that get asked, what's the weather like at 3:30 in the morning? I'm getting 30, 40 texts, 20 emails, people wanting to find out what's going on. And, you know, we get into it. He looks, Andy, you know, talks to Dan a lot. You know, Mitch talks to Amanda a lot. So I'll call Mitch. I don't want to bug Amanda. I'm not going to bug Dan. You know, I'll get it from the sources that we need to get it from. But that way we know we got the right information to you. It's like pass it down the line, but we got the right information. We have the right people working to make sure that everybody's safe. And that's what it's about. And one of the things this year I really want to say is, you know, this year with the way the storms that they're talking about, storms and stuff, you know, if you're told to evacuate an area, leave. Don't sit there and wait to see how bad it's going to be, because with the temperatures that the way they are, you know, it's not going to be one of these deals where, you know, the Gulf out there is 90 degrees. Well, when it comes on shore, it's only going to be 80. No, it's hot now. And these storms are going to be big, just like these thunderstorms. You know, a lot of cooler air on land, a lot of hot air off land, and it's a bad mix. So, you know, I keep an eye on it every day. Andy gives me we get the weather forecast from the National Weather Service, which we have on our website. It's not one that's made up. It's from the National Weather Service. The Hurricane Center, everything. Like I said, on our website, everything is there. What I want to do is put a one stop, one stop. You know what I'm talking about. I can't even say it right. You know, a one-stop shop. There you go. One-stop shop. That's what I was looking for everybody to go to, including the Matagorda Emergency Management team and you know, Andy and everybody, that they can go to one place and get the right information. So that's what they're trying to do. But these people care about you, and they care, you know, they want to make sure that you're safe. That's why they do what they do. Do not quit, please, people. I've gotten so many people yelling at me. Well, this guy up in Oklahoma said we were going to stop it, man. Just these guys are professional guys, man. You don't want to talk to Bob in Oklahoma. You don't know what's going on in Matagorda County. So just make sure, you know, and you got some good storm chasers out there, like Reed Timer. I talked to Reed. I'm sure Dan has talked to Reed and stuff. I got a direct communication when he was down here. Before I talked to him 2 or 3 times. That's a good guy, you know, a good guy to follow. But make sure it's the National Weather Service. Make sure it's you know, don't the Weather Channel, all that stuff. You know, no, that's in Atlanta. I think they're still in Atlanta. I guess I don't know, but we are on the coast, and we're going to make sure that you get the right information at the right time. So,
Jeff, you brought up a good point.
One of the things.
Go ahead.
One of the things that Dan was talking about was that we haven't had a bad storm here since 1961. I mean, we had the little one in 21 that affected the eastern part of Matagorda County, but we haven't had a large storm like Carla was back then.
Right.
You saw the beatings that some of our trees have taken just from these smaller storms and localized heavy winds.
Yeah.
Multiply that over 100 miles of constant heavy wind, and that's what these folks haven't seen. I haven't seen that. I was 6 years old when Carla hit. You know, we're going to have to pay close attention to what the people at the Hurricane Center in League City are telling us. And when they tell us, hey, this is going to be bad, you need to believe them and plan on leaving early. Make your plans now. You can call Amanda's office. You can go to ready.gov. You can go to a lot of places. See what you need in your hurricane list and what do you need to go through. Make your plans now. You don't want to wait. One of the things that's happened a lot lately is that these storms will not give you, some of them don't give you much warning. It's like, boom, you have a low pressure develop, and 3 days later, you've got a Cat 2 storm. So you've got to be ready to go. Yeah, sorry, didn't mean to take any of your thunder there, Dan, but.
No, that's a great point. You know, everyone on this call is a team, and, you know, Weather Service says something, they're going to check with Jeff and his broadcast. They're going to check with Amanda at the Emergency Management Office, and they're going to look on TV. You know, they're going to look for more information. And so, you know, we spend a lot of time kind of talking to the media and the broadcasters as well. So we're kind of all on the same page and working as a team, because that's really what it's going to take to get people to believe. And, it might even be talking to your friends and family. Maybe you've got the information, maybe they're skeptical. You may have to, kind of talk to them a little bit.
Well, that's true. Dan, Jeff, you had a good point. Jeff, Dan, talk about a little bit. Everybody concentrates on the wind, and I know that's important, but there's also storm surge. And I know that, and Amanda's taught me that the Weather Service has done a really good job now with the graphics of giving us the storm surge. But that's the deadly part, isn't it?
It is. In fact, if you look at fatalities, storm surge flooding is about half the fatalities. Wind is about 8%. So it gives you an idea of the relative danger. They're all those hazards are dangerous, but it is the water-related ones that are the most dangerous. So, as Andy said, I certainly generated a lot of surge, but remember that was up the coast from Wharton in Matagorda County.
Right.
Had that come in with a more direct hit, you would have seen, several more feet of surge. So, that maybe it is since Carla, since there's been a big surge event for many of your listeners. And so it might be something out of your experience and it's going to be in the forecast, so you're going to want to act on that, even if you haven't seen it before.
Amanda, when we're talking about early, talk to me a little bit about, especially along the coast, you're issuing reports as much as 72 hours out, right? Because of the distance and the difficulties of getting people off the waterfront.
So our goal is H120 is when we would prefer to get all the information out. 120 hours out, but that's only if the storm gives us that much time.
Right.
At 120 hours, we're looking at, possibly evacuating nursing homes, assistant livings and stuff like that. Check on our functional need population, find out, how many do we have? Are they going to need help out? Are we going to need a shelter? And then by 72 hours, we want all the functional need population out of Matagorda County if we are going to evacuate.
Tell me just a little bit about the evacuation. So many people around here want to know why we don't open the FEMA domes for evacuation. And of course, I've learned it the hard way, but tell everybody why we don't shelter here in Matagorda, unless it's just a dire necessity.
So due to past events, we've learned that you don't shelter in a strike zone.
Yes.
If we were to shelter in Matagorda County and we were hit straight on, we're putting those people in danger by trying to keep them close to home.
Yeah.
So we have agreements with the state up north, San Antonio area, open up emergency shelters for us. And we bus everyone who needs to go, they go, or you can drive your own car. Now we do have 2 domes, and that is a hot topic.
Yeah.
The dome here at Matagorda Regional Hospital, we use that as a first responder dome. Yep. And the dome in Tidehaven is also used as a first responder dome and a shelter of last resort. Got it. Meaning you didn't want to leave, we begged you, and now you're calling, telling us to come rescue you. That's where you would go. We don't want you to do that, but that's what it's there for. Now, prior to Matagorda County having domes, we had to evacuate all our first responders to LaGrange. Everyone had to go out. No one got to stay. So guess what? Streets don't get pushed. Electricity doesn't get turned back on. Everything is slower because we don't have those first responders close, ready to go as soon as the storm passes.
Well, and as Amanda knows, we also keep our HEB management team, our Walmart management team here in town, because it delayed opening opening the county back up years ago, almost 3 hours to wait to get those individuals back here so that they could get the store opened up so we could let the public come back. Because we knew, go ahead, Amanda.
Well, and a lot of people don't know that, our HEB remains open or remains producing power. So HEB provides power to the grid and takes it. So during the storm, they're still producing power. So that way, if all the power's out, their freezers are still going.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, and they just updated a lot of that equipment as well. So did the Walmart as well. I know that they did.
Yes, as Walmart.
Yeah, Walmart as well. I wanted to say this. I lived through probably one of the worst hurricanes ever to hit the United States at the time was Katrina. And, I lived in Baton Rouge when it hit. And in Baton Rouge itself, did not get a lot of rain, got a lot of wind, 100-mile-an-hour winds, 110, I think, were tops in Baton Rouge. We moved 5 miles east over to the Gonzales, over towards Gonzales area, and every tree looked like somebody snapped a matchstick and just laid them across the road. And it was like that all the way over to the Mississippi-Louisiana border. A week before, I just want to say this, not to put a scare at anybody, but people are saying, "Oh, that house, it's like Luther." Okay, Hotel Luther's been through Carla, it's been through all that. There are some homes along the Mississippi coast during Katrina, just to put this in your mind, that were there since the 1700s. Go put that in your head. There's buildings there since the 1700s, and Katrina wiped them right off.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah. Katrina knocked these buildings right off their foundations that they weren't around anymore. And when we drove through there after they opened everything, that was weeks way after. And we drove along there, and everything that we saw the week before was totally gone. So when these people tell you, hey, there's a Cat 4, Cat 3, Cat 2, I mean, it doesn't matter to me what cat it is after watching what we saw there. And then we leave there 6 weeks after Katrina, go into Palestine, Texas, and then we got Hurricane Rita. Right after that came up Interstate 45, and it was on the radio for that. And then moved down here, and boom, we got Hurricane Harvey. So I'm not moving anymore, just to let everybody know. Okay, so we've
got a petition to get you out. Jeff.
Yeah, I know they've been doing that since 15, man. I know, and I ain't going nowhere. I'm not going nowhere. But and then in 1972, when I never forget this. And Dan, you might remember this in 1972 along the East Coast, Hurricane Agnes came up through with one of the most flooding storms in history. Not so much winds, but there were towns completely underwater. Pottstown, Pennsylvania was complete. All you saw were a church rooftop. It looked like a big lake with a church sticking out of it. And it was just, I've seen enough of it, and to be scary about it, and Annie knows this. My wife knows that. I think Mitch and I mentioned this, and I talked about this many a times. When Hurricane Rita came through and we lost all those lives on Interstate 45 because people weren't informed, where to go, where to turn off, where the ice was, where the energy was. They just kept on going north, and people were dying on the interstate because they didn't know where to go. And when I got with our Congress lady at that time, with Kay Bailey Hutchinson, and talked about it, she required that the radio stations along Hurricane Pass should have generators, and that was my biggest gripe. And ever since the time we started doing it, and I'm proud to say that I don't think the state of Texas on any evacuation route will ever see that again, where they didn't get information. And I was so mad at the governor at that time, which was Perry. And he said, well, people can get the information on the TV. And I'm like, there's no TV in their car, man. And it was just it was a bad thing. But Kay Bailey Hutchinson, and you can thank her. You can thank Kay Bailey Hutchinson for the emergency management things we got. There was a 3-day meeting that we did in Madisonville, Texas. I couldn't believe that they all showed up there at the little radio station, and to get this thing going, because right after Hurricane Katrina, all these generators, everything was sent to Louisiana. FEMA sent everything over there, and they were just stacking up all over the place. Nobody was using them. So she reached out and she grabbed those generators, and we started getting them over here. And it's nothing. You never know. You just never know. I mean, everybody at that time in Louisiana was taking Katrina as a joke. I mean, you saw it on TV, the governor, everybody just, it's going to, and just boom. And it happened. And to see that, what I saw in New Orleans, and when they tell you to get out, just get out. Okay. Don't wait. Well, the governor didn't say anything yet. Well, no, these are the people right here you need to listen to. If they tell you to get out, get out. Don't wait. Storm surge, like Dan said, is the biggest thing along the coast. I mean, even 5 miles inland, it's just, get away. I remember when the hurricane was that we were there, the back of my pickup truck, we went down to Matagorda when it just was going south of us here. And the back of my pickup truck just started bouncing along. That's how windy it was. It just picked it up and started. So it's nothing to mess with. But make sure, again, and I'm going to say it over and over, and people get sick of hearing it, but get the information from the right people, man. Just get the information from the right people. And these people that you see today are the people that you need to get your information from, because there's some bad information out there. Andy and I know it. We called somebody out already on it, and they're gone. So, it's just getting bad information. So, Amanda, Andy, Dan, Mitch, or myself, I'm going to I communicate with Andy a lot, and Mitch, and I try not to bug Amanda when there's an emergency going. I'll get that information from Mitch, and Dan the same way. I'll get it from Andy. They're busy people, but just make sure you go to the right place to get the information, please.
Well, and Jeff, that is a great message. It also is, and just like it's been said, Andy said it great. Prepare today. If you've got an RV or a boat, Amanda, when do we stop high-profile vehicles from being on the road?
At 45 miles per hour.
Okay, so planning ahead of time. And Amanda, what's your number one issue with power outages? I mean, we could be days and weeks, just like they found out in Houston just recently when the major power lines went down. What's the message for our citizens about how to be prepared?
Reality,
Did I lose it?
I think we've lost Amanda.
Yeah.
Amanda, you're not muted, but I can't hear you.
Well, I didn't have anything else to say.
Oh, okay.
I was going to listen to what Amanda was going to say.
Right. Amanda, we couldn't hear you. Can you say that again?
didn't hear any of it.
No. Sorry.
I already forgot what I was.
So power outages, what do we need to be ready for?
All right, 3 to 5 days. If
You're breaking up, Amanda. It's breaking up. Whatever you're using, it's breaking up.
on Wi-Fi.
Nope. Not yet. Nope.
Uh-oh.
All right, we'll get.
Okay.
All right, we'll get her back on.
Well, my point is that people are going to want to start screaming.
Go ahead, Andy. Andy, go ahead.
Well, one of the other things I wanted Dan to touch on is that maybe I'm dropping off too. One of the things I wanted Dan to touch on is that now they're also doing some of these forecasts in Spanish. And that means a lot to the people down in this area with a large Spanish-speaking population.
That's right, Andy. All the Hurricane Center forecasts will be issued in Spanish this year. We're also rolling out a Vietnamese products. Some of that is an AI translator. So we are trying to reach more communities. We do have a large Spanish-speaking population and also some Vietnamese as well. So, we know that's a gap. And so we're trying to address that. We also have 2 Spanish-speaking meteorologists on staff. So some of our graphics are also in Spanish. So we're really trying to promote that.
All right, Amanda, go ahead. Can we get you back again?
I think it's going to be interesting to see how this is going to work out with the changes that you have. You've also got changes now with the hydrology portion of it, and what's going to happen with the freshwater rainfall and all that being tracked. And your hydrology folks are going to be staying busy with their new thing. And so we're looking for a lot more and better information in that regard.
Right. Harvey, what did everyone want after Harvey? They wanted to know a map that would show which areas would flood, with a given amount of rain and a water level of a certain amount. So you've got a lot of these flood inundation maps that are now available, new, and so that should help us with that issue too. The big heavy rain flood producers.
Right. Amanda, go ahead now. See if we can try it again.
Can you hear me now?
Fixed.
I can hear you now.
I'm pretty sure it was Jeff's fault, not my own.
Sure, blame it on me. That's fine.
Operator
We
error.
agree.
Okay. So the most that I would like to point out is that if we lose power, it's going to be 3 to 5 days. And you need to be prepared to not get any power back for a minimum of 3 to 5 days. It's going to take resources from Houston, Victoria, Galveston area. These people are going to have to come in to restore this power. People who were just hit on Friday, I know AEP had 90% up, 90% of it back up, but it's that 10% that you have to worry about. The 10% of the population who does not have power for 3 to 5 days. And you have to have water to survive.
Right.
And a lot of people will say, I don't have money to get out. I can't afford a hotel. I don't have the gas money. Well, that's when you need to register today. Register your family. You know that they can't get out on 211. You can do it from your phone. You can do it from the internet. You just call 211. That's it.
Right.
And that way we know that your mom doesn't have a smartphone and needs to be checked on at H120 hours. We'll know that she's diabetic or that she does dialysis. Right now, we have less than 100 people registered on STEER. And of those less than 100, maybe 1/3 of them need transportation from their home to the deportation site.
So what you're saying is they're self-identifying as functional needs.
Correct. And people used to think that, functional needs were medically just, I'm not sick enough. No, it's everything. You don't have a car, you don't have the funds, you are sick. It's all the things that we will help get you where you need to be. You just have to ask.
And with stating what you said about taking 3 to 3 days, 4 days, one of the reasons why that is, and I did talk to V right after the storms here in Blessing. I've been emailing her back and forth, and she told me that they had 95% up and they had a transmission area in one area. But V is from AEP is great with getting back information and stuff like that. And very helpful. They're not going to start working on the lines and stuff until the storm passes, at least until the winds are below 25 or 20 miles an hour, I think it is, that they're able to work on the lines. We learned that very well in Katrina because that was weeks over there. That was 6-8 weeks. Some people didn't have power, but they're going to wait until the storm passes. You don't want to put these guys in power lines that are swinging around at 45 miles an hour or 50 miles an hour. They're not going to do it. They're going to wait until the storm passes. You got to clear out, trees or whatever it is as well. So you got 3 or 4 different companies working just to clear out lines. So it does take a while for the folks to get out there and get everything done. And like Amanda said, they got staging places where they set up, in Houston or Victoria or wherever it is that they set up. And it does take time for that group of people to get here, especially if it's one of those right along the coast storms, man. That's one of the toughest ones, because you got a big area that's chewing up, sort of like Harvey was, but just traveled back and forth like a shop vac, and then lots of area went bad. So yeah.
Jeff, when you're talking about 2 to 3 weeks, when Ike hit in 2008, it was primarily a Galveston, Houston area storm. But on the eastern half of Wharton County, we lost 25% of the power over there. Some of those people, it took over 2 weeks, because if you're sitting on a little line with 3 homes on it, and they're working on somebody with 20,000 homes on it, you're going to go back to the end of the line every time. The problem is those people in the rural areas, a lot of times their water wells, everything else depended upon having that power. So you need to make those plans now.
And I also want to say this, and I'm not going to plug what I do, but I am going to plug what I do. So, we have I'm pretty much one of the only small engine shops in Matagorda County. And I tell people all the time, and it doesn't have to be me. If you have somebody that knows how to fix them, great. Get your generators fixed now. Don't wait until the storm hits and then say, well, it won't start. That's one of the biggest things you have. If you have a generator and you need it for emergencies, and this happened just this past week with the storms, I had 20 generators come in the same day that the storm hit. I'm one guy, and it's like crazy. And, we got within a day and a half, I had all 20 generators fixed. I had to put everything else aside and get them done, but don't wait. Get them checked now. Get your generators checked now. Also, if you're running a generator, there's another thing. If you're running a generator, don't run it in your garage. Run them outside, making sure that the exhaust is pointing away from your home, or it's not underneath a window or whatever. Run your generator outside. It can handle the water as long as you got the cover and everything on it. But make sure you get those generators checked out now. I don't care if they're small ones or big ones or whatever. Do it now. And if you don't have one, you're thinking about getting one, don't wait for a storm to come by to buy one. And then everybody's going to be out. So they're, for $300 to $600, get yourself a generator that, get fan going, or at least some kind of communication so you know what's going outside, charge your phones, things like that. I tell everybody all the time, do it now. Just get that stuff taken care of now. Don't wait till the last minute to have all this stuff go bad and say, oh my God, well, it worked 2 years ago. Well, yeah, it don't work that way. So get that stuff checked out now. Like I said, I don't care who you go to. You come to me. You got a couple good guys, in town that, work on them on the side or whatever. That's fine. But just get that stuff checked out now. It's a big, that's a big problem, big issue.
It sounds like, Jeff, that the overriding message is be prepared today for what might happen this summer.
Right. Don't wait. I mean,
don't wait.
Everybody's, the national
water, food.
Puts emergency manager, everybody puts out stuff, now. This is what you need to have. Make sure you got this food, that, make sure this is taken care of. And it just seems like every time one of these storms come through, everybody waits to the last minute. I know. And you hear this all the time too, which I see a lot on Facebook, and I call it out and I don't care. They can come slap me. I don't care. Like, it's just a scare tactic or this and that. It's not. Eventually, sometime it's going to happen. And if it don't happen this year, great. If it don't happen next year, great. But it may happen the year after, but be prepared for it anyway,
I'm going to go buy stock in toilet paper just in case that it has a run. Yes. It has a run at the grocery store for toilet paper or water and bread.
Yeah.
No. If you go to the store and there's no more beer, then you know there's a problem.
Man, Andy would be up the creek. Let me tell you. Oh my God, he'd open up his own.
That just means I got there first.
Call the governor. Call the governor. It's an emergency. Amanda laughs. We did have a person on Sargent Island that called 911 because they were out of beer and cigarettes.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was an emergency for them.
And,
Jeff,
and he
that's
ended
why
up
I've
going
got
to a
my-
shelter.
Yes.
What's it, Andy?
That's why I'm getting my generators fixed now, because I got to keep my beer refrigerator going.
Well, I'm keeping them down here just in case a storm hits, so because I need one. So I'm going to keep yours down here.
Well, guys, thank you so much.
Yeah. I want to thank all you guys for being on here. Amanda, if there is damage or you need assistance, once again, I still have everything on the website that you gave me last year. And I'll tell you exactly what it is. Hang on 1 second, and I'll tell you what it all is. You gave them to me last year, and I got it right here. Let's see. I'm gonna go down here. All right. Storm damage assistance is on here. Emergency preparedness is also on here. So you can go down to these little things on gcor1.com. It starts off with Andy Kirkland, the National Weather Service forecast, the tide conditions, the Weather Service weather radar, the emergency preparedness link is there, weather radio, Texas, tropical tidbits, windy.com, the GOES Eastern Satellite View, NOAA weather forecast, National Hurricane Center, and storm damage assistance. These are all on the website that we talked about last year. The links are all still there. And if you need any of that at any time, it's there. So just to let everybody know.
Hey, Dan,
All right.
I hear you're going to
Thank you
Jackson
so
County for a preparation. When you come through Wharton, give me a holler. I'll get you a cup of coffee.
Yeah, I would love to do that. We've actually got 5 different things that day, so we may actually have to do that one virtually, I'm afraid. But yeah, we'll be talking. We'll be talking to the Jackson County folks, the U.S. Coast Guard, Sector Houston, Galveston County. We've got UTMB, so it's a really full day on the 5th.
And
Well,
we
good
have a
luck,
drill.
and thank you for everything.
Amanda, you say you got a drill?
Yeah, we have a drill on the 5th also. Excuse me. So we just our normal all hazards drill. It's a practice drill, if that makes sense.
Yeah. There you go. Mitch, you're involved in that too, ain't you?
I am playing the PIO role for both the dress rehearsal and another a graded exercise in July.
I just want to let everybody else know that if we ever get a Hurricane Andy, it will be dropping Miller Lite cans from the sky. I just thought I'd let everybody know.
They've taken Andrew off the list.
Yes, yeah, I know that's true. They did. That's right. All right, guys. Thank you very much. Dan Rielly from the National Weather Service, Amanda Campos from Matagorda County Emergency Management, and Andy Kirkland are I don't even know what he does anymore, but I know he does the weather here for Gulf Coast One Radio. And our good friend Mitch Thames up there, and myself. Thank you, all of you guys, for coming on. And, Dan, if we get into we see a hurricane or something off the coast, we might be hitting you up. And Amanda knows as well, and Andy will have him on as well.
Yep, happy to do it.
All right,
Sounds
thank you very
good.
much.
Thank
All
you.
right,
all.
Great.
All right. If anybody has any questions or would like to ask us anything, we can go to our email. It's InsideTexas24 at gmail.com. That's InsideTexas24 at gmail.com. And then you can also text us at 979-476-4469. And to get all your information and answers, we also go to our Facebook page as well. On behalf of myself, Jeff Michaels, and Mitch Thames, Dan Rielly, Andy Kirkland, and Amanda Campos, thanks for watching Inside Texas Tonight. We'll see you all next week. Thank you.